A very warm welcome to you all and to our esteemed guest for today's session, Ms. Divya Srivastava. Thank you for joining us, Divya. Welcome everyone to another insightful episode of Oncharity's Wellness Wednesday. I'm Chandana Vasist. I lead the social media at Oncharity. I'll be your host for this engaging session today. Here we are at the end of the year. Isn't it funny how quickly we go from this year's gonna be different to wait, what? It's already 1 year. What happened to my resolutions from January? We all agree that we all have been in the situation. If you're already started drafting your 2025 resolutions, you are in the right place. Today, we are going to figure out the secret sauce to turning resolutions into habits that actually last. No more broken promises or gym membership gathering dust. Let's make this coming year, different for real. We'll dive into proven tools and strategies to help you not just set the goals, but achieve them. Whether it's building habits, mastering journaling techniques, or rewiring how you think about success. To help us crack the code on the creating habits that stick, we are thrilled to have Ms. Divya with us today. Welcome, Divya. Divya is seasoned mental health expert with over 12 years of experience across diverse settings from banks and educational institutes to NGOs and corporates. A master's graduate in counseling from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She's trained in advanced techniques like transactional analysis, EFT, clinical hypnotherapy, and more. As a founder of Silver Lining Wellness Center Private Limited, Divya advocates for emotional well being through practical, comp- compassionate approaches. She is also an EFT trainer, clinical supervisor, and a guest lecturer, empowering individuals and organizations to thrive through wellness programs. Divya's expertise will help us break down the psychology behind failed resolution and guide through effective tools like habit loops, journaling techniques, and mindset reframing exercise. With that, let's get started. Divya, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you here today. Before we begin, there is a quick wellness quiz that we want all of you to take. So, Rachna, if we can just go to the next slide. This is a QR code appearing in front of you. All you need to do is scan this code, and it will take you to a Google form. It's a very basic uh, questionnaire which helps you assess your wellness needs. So just take a moment, scan this, and when it's done, you can just write done in the chat box. So just scan this QR code and go ahead and take that wellness survey. And today, as we dive deep into this whole topic of resolutions, etc., I think all of us here today are excited about the fact that the new year is coming. We all aspire for something better each year, and we hope to make resolutions to set the tone and decide the path for ourselves, that yes, this is the year when this is going to happen, when XYZ, all of those things are going to happen. And I'm going to start with also launching this first poll, which is, have you ever made New Year resolutions? Yes or no? So whenever you're ready, just please vote. Yes, polls are coming in. It's interesting. There are some of us here who seem to not have made New Year resolutions. I'm curious to know what has brought you here to this webinar today. Maybe this is the year you want to keep and make New Year resolutions for the first time. We've got 5 votes in, still waiting for the others to vote. So while we wait for most more votes to come in, as of now, what I can see is 60% of you over here have made New Year resolutions, and 40% of you have not made New Year resolutions yet. Okay, now it's at 50-50. More people have not made New Year resolutions. That's quite interesting. So before we begin, and we talk about how to create better habits, build better habits, let's also ask ourselves, what is the reason behind why we make resolutions? What is the meaning or the significant turn of events that we expect the moment the calendar moves from 31st December to 1st January? What does that new beginning signify for us? What does that new start mean for us? I think that's a very, very important question to ask ourselves, because a lot of us in life, we want some things to change. They also say that, change is the only constant of life. And we all aspire for a lifestyle where, where we are putting ourselves first, where we are becoming the best version of ourselves. And we all think about it as an image that would be there in the future. How near or how distant depends on what we are like as human beings. And I feel the New Year's marks that signal for the whole world collectively to come together and be like, you know what? Today is the day that we are all going to make a fresh start together. The collective energy of the people, like the New Year party bashes all of you on 31st December, doing the midnight countdown. Just imagine that, okay, the time is finally coming when I can let go of my old life and enter into the new world. Like, how the caterpillar just leaves its cocoon and becomes a butterfly. That is the opportunity the New Year denotes. So, can we move on to the next slide, please? Yeah. So, for those of you who've mentioned that there are resolutions you have made, okay, can you share in the chat box some resolutions that you made in the previous years? Resolutions can be all sorts. This year I resolved to sleep more, become less addicted to the phone. This year I'll finally try sticking to a gym membership. What are some resolutions you have made? This year, I promise I will cut off contact with all people who are not making a positive contribution in my life. There are all kinds of resolutions that exist out there. Let's see if there are any shares regarding what are the different resolutions that you guys have made. If anybody would like to share in the chat box, please go ahead. Remember, this session is all about you. And the more you share, the more personal information you could get and benefit from this session. So just go ahead and let's hear some of the resolutions that you made. And for the ones who answered, that yes, they have made New Year resolutions. Uh, if I had to ask you a separate question again, which is, depending on the resolution that you made, have you been able to keep that resolution? Yes, not at all. I tried but gave up. No. Okay. I tried but gave up is what's climbing up. Okay, interesting. So good to know that you are alive and paying attention and very much sitting in front of the screen. So if anyone wants to share what were some resolutions you made last year, maybe something you don't want to share because, well, I gave up. I don't want people to know that. So no worries, no judgment over here. It's a completely safe, non-judgmental space. Yeah, it's very, very clearly I tried but gave up. Most of us are voting over there. So if I just publish this result, if we look at the polls that came in, okay, there are some 25% have actually been able to keep their resolution. So great job. Congratulations, guys. Not at all, 12%. No, 12%. And I tried but gave up 50%, which means we started, but then it just did not seem to be working for us. So what were the some of the resolutions that you made which you were not able to keep? Which ones did you feel that you had to abandon? There are so many reasons behind why it is abandoned, behind why these resolutions are not kept, and a lot of reasons why resolutions can actually be maintained. So if we go into okay, I can see a couple of questions. I resolute to eat well, sleep well, and stress less. That's brilliant. Not single before 2024, but somehow still am. Guess I'm in the plot twist no one saw coming. Okay. Resolution was to have better grades and finally work on a startup idea and do more extracurriculars. Excellent. So a lot of resolutions that have been made. Okay. Interesting. So can we move to the next slide, please? Now we want to look at what is the reason behind not being able to keep resolutions. Why resolutions fail. Okay. I think the first and the most important reason why resolutions fail is because the expectations we have from ourselves are a little bit too unrealistic at times. For example, if I have resolved that from today onwards I'm going to have better grades, okay, that's a goal a lot of us have in our student life. Or every, even if we don't consider the new year time, every time we've had to cram last minute before an exam and we've gone through hell because oh my god, there is so much portion. Only if only I had started studying a day before, a week before, a few hours before, I would not be panicking, I would not be this anxious. And that time we resolved, next semester I'm going to start studying from day one, I will not let something like this repeat itself. Exams are over. We breathe a sigh of relief. We wait with bated breath for the results and we realize, oh, I didn't do too badly. I did well. And yay, I'm back in the next semester. And college starts, school starts. And I'm like, again, going with the flow of things because I know I can do it. All right. Some of us very enthusiastically because let's be honest, when we have an exam to study for, everything else appears more interesting. So I have been one of those guilty persons where instead of studying for my exam, I'm actually sitting and planning my future study schedule. Next semester onwards, I will study for this many hours straight. I will definitely do this, I will definitely do that. But won't happen, it doesn't happen. First and foremost, why it doesn't happen is because the expectations are too unrealistic. So if I'm somebody who's not been studying even 10 minutes a day, to suddenly resolve to study 2 hours every day from day one without any exam, without any test coming up, it's not a fair expectation to have. Okay. Similarly, if my goal was to quit smoking and I am somebody who used to smoke, say, 12 cigarettes a day, it is unrealistic to expect that on 31st December, I've seen people do this. Since New Year, I'm planning to give up smoking. Let me smoke as much as I can today. We go for those binging parties also to some extent. But what happens? One day you smoke 12, 14 cigarettes, the next day, zero. It's very, very difficult for that to happen. So you'll do it on day one, you'll do it on day two, you'll do it on day three. Day four, you'll feel that trigger again, you'll feel that cue that okay, I need this cigarette, I need a smoke. You will pick up that cigarette, and because you picked up one cigarette on day 4, you decide, I failed my resolution and I'm going to go back to smoking my 12 cigarettes a day from the next day. So what if I had decided that my new year resolution would be to attempt to quit smoking, but not be so unrealistic in terms of moving it from 12 to 0. Okay. Sometimes we expect way too much for us from ourselves, which is not a possibility. If I've been single and I want a partner, okay, it is unrealistic to expect that the first date I go on will be with the person of my dreams and immediately I will be in a relationship. I may need to work on myself more, put myself out there, go on a couple of not so great dates till I meet somebody. Okay. So when we have unrealistic expectations, we fail resolutions. when we lack a clear plan that, this is how I want to go about it. So if I want to quit smoking, have I done the research work in terms of knowing when is it that I crave the cigarette the most? What is quitting smoking going to look like for me? Would it mean that, okay, when my friends go take a sutta break, smoke break, I'm not with them over there? I'm missing out on all the gossip that happens in the smoke room. What are my alternatives to this? Have I had a clear plan in place for me to actually be able to quit smoking? No. So, unrealistic expectations, lack of a clear plan, and of course, insufficient motivation. So, going back to the example I gave of I'm going to study 2 hours, 3 hours every day starting the next semester, my results came out, and guess what? The highest was 19 on 20. I'm bad at math, so I'm sticking to 20-digit figures and not hundreds. Okay. And I studied last minute. It was mayhem. I really gave up on sleep. I had headache. I did not eat. But guess what? I got 17 on 20. Just by studying last minute, I was as good as what a topper was. Should I take the pain of studying 3 hours every day, which is frankly, I have better things to do. I can hang out with my friend, I can go for a movie, I can chill at a cafe, I can watch Netflix. So many options before us. Versus, I just need to suffer one day again next term, one day before the exam. I know I'm going to regret it, but it's just one day of suffering and then it's over. And the damage, it is a damage, but it's not that deep or that severe for me to actually wonder and put myself through 6 months of studying every day. Not worth it. Okay. So again, I had very unrealistic expectations that I had to study every day. I could maybe have decided I'll devote 1 hour in the week to go through what has been covered and look at what I'm not understanding. Okay. And if I notice, okay, these are topics I'm finding difficult, I would have a clear plan that, okay, I need to check in with my teacher or I can ask somebody in class to explain this to me. And then I would feel motivated enough that, okay, it's just 1 hour a week versus 3 hours every day. Okay. There are some other barriers also that get in the way that we call psychological barriers. So one of them is decision fatigue. Now we live in a world where we are met with too many choices. Kuch bhi is the anything, or kuch bhi as we say in Hindi, is the most frequently ordered item on the menu when someone asks you what do you want to eat today. How many of us at one point of time in my childhood, I remember it used to be simple. You eat whatever's in the house, or if you want to order from outside, there are only two options, Indian or Chinese. You take a pick, and that's all you need to do. Today, there are too many options in front of us which actually drain our willpower. Okay. So if I am not studying, what do I do? I'm not supposed to go home. I mean, I'm supposed to sit at home doing what? Like, there's nothing else for me to do. Today we have devices. I can play games on them. I can call and talk to my friends on those devices. I can watch something I like. If I'm not studying, and I'm not allowed to go out and meet my friends, I'm still occupied by so many other things. When I was a child, if I was not studying, my mother expected me to help her with household chores, and guess what was easier? Studying. Okay. So when we talk about too many choices in front of us, that leads to a decision fatigue for us. It drains our willpower because what there are so many options in front of us that, you know, complicate our lives a little more, if I put it that way. Okay. Also, there is a lot of difference between what we intend to do and how we behave. Okay. So if we look at somebody who decides that I'm going to lose weight this year and I'm going to hit the gym, the intention is completely there. Okay, that yes, I want to go to the gym and I want to start losing weight. Sometimes the expectation is unrealistic because we expect to move from, say, a double XL to a double XS in, say, 3 months, 4 months, 1 month. It can be really unrealistic. And when you start, if you've never exercised before, your bones hurt, your limbs hurt, you body parts that you didn't know existed start hurting. And what is the effect? You see yourself, if you're doing it the healthy way, you won't drop more than 1 kg a week. maximum 2 kgs. And do I look different? Will people start complimenting me? Not immediately. Is it worth it? Maybe not, I'm not sure. Again, I've decided to go all out, start exercising, maybe decided not to get a personal trainer, not to fix my diet. I've not had a proper plan in action. On top of that, I'm not a morning person. And given my schedule, I have decided that I'm going to wake up every morning at 4 a.m. so that I can be in the gym by 4:30, 4:45, and I'm back home by 6 o'clock. If you are in a part of the country right now where it's cold, January is winters in India, you don't want to get out of bed even at 8 a.m. if it involves getting out, getting up, brushing and bathing. There is no way, if you are not a morning person, you want to get up and hit the gym. That's not something you actually want to do. So there is a significant gap between what you intend and how you're behaving. You are not going to be able to keep up with that. So just based on what we have discussed before, if you could reflect on the resolution you made and what is the reason behind you were not able to keep it. It could be one of these four reasons. It could be a combination of these. So let me know in the chat box, like, what is it that, like, because of which you could not keep the resolution you made. Let's check that out and also move on to the next slide after. So yeah, let's just stick to what's the one thing that is stopping you from sticking to the resolution. Is it because you don't have the right expectations from yourself? Whether you're lacking a clear plan, it's because you have insufficient motivation, or because you're just struggling with decision fatigue and intention behavior gap. For most of us, it will be a combination of all of this. Decision fatigue and insufficient motivation. Great. It's amazing that you're being able to now put into words the reasons why you're not being able to keep the particular resolutions that you've made. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So if we look at the habit loop framework, okay, let's look at what is it that keeps habits in place. Okay. Uh, so let's say somebody's motivation was, like someone's mentioned here, to have better grades, finally work on a startup idea, do more extracurriculars. This is the desire. This is what you want. Okay. Let's look at what is the current behavior like. So for better grades, I'm assuming there are different factors involved. One could be just turning up to class and attending classes. Maybe attendance is low. So I've not paid attention what happens in the classroom. So by default, what I end up doing is I take notes from my friends and I just study those. Okay, that is one reason why it's not happening for me. So if the cue, it's also called the reminder that, kicks off this habitual behavior, this behavior of not turning up for classes. What could be the reason? Let's look at, okay, my classes are way too early in the morning. I live very far from my college. Gone are the remote college days where we could just get out of bed, open our laptops, and just sit in front of the screen. We don't do that now. We actually have to travel to college, which again involves waking up in the morning. Plus, I have a lecture. Maybe my teacher is not engaging enough, and sitting in that lecture does not make me feel engaged in any particular way. Okay, so instead of that, I just get up and I grab hold of my best friend. At this point, this device is literally an extension of who you are. I also say it's the extra bone that we carry now in our bodies, which is outside it, because we can't function without it. So the cue is, we'll wake up in the morning. Because we have an alarm clock, we'll get up to switch it off, and immediately we will be hooked to, okay, let's check out the messages I've missed, let's look at reels, let's look at my friends stories. Okay, it's literally, that is the cue. The moment I wake up and I press snooze, my mind is programmed, or my body is programmed, to pick up my phone and now scroll through the other apps. Okay, similarly, if we look at what is it that prompts me to smoke, even though I've made the resolution, okay, that I don't want to smoke. I have people around me who are smokers. My close friends are smokers. Every time one of them is feeling a little stressed, they just say, "Hey, let's just go out." The cigarette is not just a cigarette for me. Many of us, we are stressed. When we are smoking, technically, we are just breathing in and out. It's deep breathing, which we are actually engaging in. So, the cue is this is something that will de stress me. This is something that will shift my emotional state. Like when I woke up, I was feeling really tired, I was feeling really drowsy. I'm immediately recharged because of the dopamine rush that has come in thanks to all the scrolling that I've done on Instagram. If I had to get out of bed and then again go to college, which is not fun at the moment, it's not going to give me the dopamine rush that I'm actually craving. So when we look at the habit loop framework, we understand what is the cue that we are getting from the environment and the habit, the routine that we have for repeating this behavior. So if you are used to drinking coffee at say at 5 p.m. every day, okay, so that is the break you get after a long day of work. I sip the coffee, the aroma. After a while, we know about classical conditioning to some extent. So it's like the moment I get a whiff of coffee, I start feeling relaxed. I know this is my time, this is my downtime. Okay. It's become woven into my routine that I'll pick a sip of coffee. That is the time when my work colleagues and all don't talk about everything else besides work. Okay. It makes me feel calm. It helps me feel more relaxed. I feel more in charge thanks to this coffee. In India, most adults I know, especially in our parent generation, they are addicted to chai or tea in that same manner. Many of I've heard my mom say she fasts sometimes and she's like, I don't miss food and water, but it's chai that I really crave when I'm fasting because it has a different association for her. It's a cue for, a stress relief. It's something she actually does for herself. It's something which is her quiet time because she doesn't have to focus on work. That is her time. She and her cup of tea, just sipping that and giving herself that break she deserves. And because it gives us that instant result, okay, the benefits of quitting smoking, your lungs will thank you for it, your body will thank you for it, but that gratitude will come decades later. Right now if I smoke, I'll get the instant dopamine rush. So the result or the reward is that it's telling me that yes, this is worth it right now. I don't know about what the future lies, okay, whether it will even be possible. So this is the thing that keeps us in the loop. We see the cue, it features in our routine in a very prominent way, and we are instantly rewarded for it, and that reward becomes a reinforcement for this cue to just keep continuing. I hope this is making sense to you guys and you can actually see something like this playing out for yourself. And this is where journaling comes in, okay. Now a lot of self-help tools talk about journaling, the benefits of that, and a lot of people wonder that okay, yes, I know it's useful to journal, but I don't exactly know how to journal, what to journal, and how does journaling even work, like what do I need to do. So can we move to the next slide please? Yeah. So when we talk about journaling, especially in the context of building habits, what is one thing that it helps you do is if you had to journal just about what are your goals. Okay, so what are the resolutions you want to keep? Let's go back to making sure they are not unrealistic and there is a clear plan in place. So instead of just making a resolution right now that I want to quit smoking or I want better grades is the outcome. Okay, but what if we break our resolution into what are the behaviors we need to adapt? So instead of my resolution is to have better grades, work on a startup idea, and do more extracurriculars. Let's take a step back. Okay, better grades would be an outcome if A, you studied more, B, you attended classes. What else? So clarify your goals using the SMART framework, which is be very specific about what it is that you want, measure it. So if I want to quit smoking, have that awareness it cannot go from 14 to 0. I'm going to start by reducing my smoking intake from X to X minus 1 every week. That seems a much more doable framework where if every day I know I have 12 to 14, this week I'll just try to have 11. So it's very specific, it's measurable. Okay, look at how much possible it is for you to maintain that. What is it that's going to happen with you? So whatever resolution you have made, okay, just go back to, if you had to frame it in terms of a behavior, what would that behavior be? Like how I just told, and is it achievable for me? Okay, that's the what the A stands for. Okay, so if I want to quit smoking, let and I smoke 14 cigarettes a day, I'm being very specific that I'm going to reduce it to x minus 1 week on week. Okay, so it will become 11 in week 1, maybe 10 in week 2. Stick to that. It is definitely something that is achievable for me. Okay, for some, and it has to be time bound and relevant also. So if somebody feels no, week on week is too much, that would mean by 1.5 months I'm going to zero. Maybe not. Maybe I can start with 11 and 10 till February, and then slowly make it 9, 8, 7. Give myself all the time I need in the world. So clarify it using the SMART framework, but make sure it is achievable for you, and you decide how much of it is possible for you to achieve. Okay, if you're looking at getting better grades by attending class, and you're somebody stuck on 40% attendance, there is no way you'll be a new leaf the next day and attend all your classes and have 100% attendance. Not possible. Give yourself a break. Like I'll maybe try only bunking 2 lectures or one lecture a week, or 2 lectures a week. Like figure that out for yourself. Use the SMART framework to decide that goal. Journal about it there. Okay, go back to, treat your journal as a living document. Ek baar likh diya and then I forgot. That's not the way to go about it. Let me write what it is, let me figure out how to go about it. Also look at how, use journaling as well to create focus and cognitive skills. Because if I'm putting something in the SMART framework, okay, even if I'm talking about reducing it to from 12 to 11, it requires planning, right? Where is that one space I can see that, okay, when I go out with my friends, I smoke 2 cigarettes, let me make that one. So I'm still going out with them, I will smoke one, and I'll take a really long time with that cigarette, instead of just finishing it and lighting the second one. I'll make this one last more. So I'm also increasing my own focus, increasing my own cognitive abilities in terms of planning, organization, uh, reflecting on what can I do, what can I not do. Journaling also increases accountability. The reasons why sometimes things to do lists work is because you're making, when you write something down, it becomes more concrete, it becomes more real. So rather than just, at on one time in a day we have so many thousand thoughts. Okay, but when you write it down, that thought becomes concrete for you. That is something that plays out for yourself. So when you are writing in a journal, when you are talking, even if you're writing about failures, okay, so the one thing that I absolutely want you to make a resolution about is, you are not going to be in an all or nothing state. So for example, if I want to quit smoking but I ended up smoking today, I'm going to still treat the next day as a day I shall try again. It doesn't mean that the one day I quit is the license for me to now go all out and forget about the resolution. So let me increase accountability. Let me talk about what is it that messed up, the reason why I could not do it today. And let's go back to, this is my goal. What do I need to tweak to make it happen for me? Give your journaling is a space which is private. It's just for you. You don't need to share about your journal with anybody, not with your partner, not with your sibling, if you want, not even with your therapist or anybody else. So the bigger question to ask is, can you be honest with your own self? Is that space available to you, by you, where you're honestly reflecting, being honest with yourself? If you're able to do this consistently, again, don't resolve I'll journal every day if you don't journal ever. Start with once or twice a week and then increase. Okay, do that. So once you have that space, you'll also understand the patterns, or the patterns where you which make you fail. So every time on Monday, it's a lecture that I absolutely don't like, the teacher hates me and she's really mean to me, and because of that I end up not turning up for my Monday classes. The rest of, and therefore because I've missed one class, I feel, what's the point of going to college? What if I just decided to attend all the other classes? Or I decided that, okay, even if I don't like this teacher's class, I can just go and sit there maybe at the back or something and figure out what to do. When you keep journaling, you're recognizing your patterns, you're giving yourself space to, again, like I said, enhance your cognitive skills, focus, decision making abilities. And you're also encouraging yourself to consistently review. When you realize that, oh my god, I really hated this teacher, but guess what, after I made this resolution and I realized that not for every class I need to sit in the front bench and answer all questions, life became easy for me and I'm liking it. It will boost your motivation and positivity, and it will keep you going. It will help you again to keep going on that path and not back down. Remember, journaling is not a I'll do it one day and forget about it. It's something that I can keep doing consistently. It's a living document of my life, and it will change because life is also filled with a lot of changes. I am not a robot. No matter what resolutions I make, I am going to stay a human being. So expecting perfection from myself, not the best place to be at. It's okay for me to it's okay for me to give myself permission to make mistakes and allow for certain goof ups along the way. It's absolutely fine. That's what sometimes goof ups make the most interesting stories. And let's focus on that as well. Can we move to the next slide, please? So remember we spoke about the cue, the routine, and the reward part, the model that is there that leads to habit formations. Now we are going to use journaling to actually identify this for ourselves. Okay, so let's pick up one of the goals that some of you have shared. So one someone here has a goal to eat well, sleep well, and stress less. Okay, so those are three different resolutions. Now, if we pick something called eat well, okay, uh, I think the most common sin people create in today's world is skipping breakfast. Most of us seem guilty of that. I'm not sure if you fall in that bucket. If you do, let's look at what is the cue behind why you skip breakfast. Okay, so the alarm clock rings, you set it on time, but you've kept hitting the snooze button, and ultimately you wake up, you barely have time to take a shower and run, otherwise, you're going to be late for work. Okay, and so in that rush, I forget to eat and I'm hungry till lunchtime. And at work, there are too many assignments and deadlines for me to complete. So sometimes even lunch gets skipped. I just eat whatever is available because, again, I was too tired the previous night to fix my lunch and carry a dabba or carry a lunch box. What is something that I can do? What are the cues in my environment available? Snoozing alarm clock, sleeping a little late, hitting the snooze button till absolutely the last moment. Okay. The routine is very simple. As soon as alarm rings and I know, yeah, this is it, I'll miss work if I press snooze one more time. I'm out of the bed, running, getting ready, and rushing out of the house. And because I get to work on time and my work is getting completed, it's what keeps me in the loop for. And I got like, let's be honest, when the alarm rings and you press the snooze button, those 10 minutes of sleep are literally the best version of sleep most people ever get. That's very precious to us. So that reward is what is keeping it in the loop. So what if I could make some other adjustments? What if I decided that, okay, you know what, breakfast is too big a deal for me, but I'm always going to pick pack a box of dry fruits and maybe an apple or a banana in my bag. If I eat a banana, it gets replaced immediately. So again, I did the mad rush of getting up in the morning very late, getting ready, leaving my house, but I now have dry fruits in my bag. It's not the best thing to eat in the morning, but at least I'm eating a fruit. I'm eating some dry fruits and I'm out of the house. I'm not empty stomach anymore. And if you've had a full breakfast, you'll also notice that you don't get sugar cravings and you actually feel full for a larger part of the day, even if you're eating less. So use journaling to figure out what are the cues. They are easiest to notice. Figure out what your routine is, which you can change. Like just adding a dry fruit box or an apple is something which will take less than 2 minutes. We now have grocery apps like Blinkit, etc., that just deliver these things in 10 minutes time. What if I could do this? What I'm getting as a reward also changes, that okay, I got to sleep extra and I got to eat my breakfast also. Keep experimenting with different cues to find something that is most effective for you. And use journaling as a process to track your momentum and refine your approach more. After a while, you will, because after a few days, the apple and the dry fruit will also get boring. But in that process, see what are the other things you can do, what are the other adjustments you can make. Again, for the same person who had sleeping well, what if the reason I don't sleep on time? Hit the bed on time, but I'm scrolling through reels. I promised myself 5 minutes, and then I realized that I've been scrolling mindlessly for 2 hours. So, can I come up with a plan to have a better sleep hygiene? No tech, no screens 1 hour before I hit the bed. I don't need to work, I don't need to do anything. But if I sleep every day at 11 p.m., 10 p.m. is the last time I'm going to look at screens. Can I make a resolution which is that, instead of just making something generic like sleep well? What does sleeping well mean? Are we talking about hours of sleep, quality of sleep? When we talk about eating well, again, are we talking about not skipping meals, eating nutritious food, quitting junk food? These are too generic. When we make resolutions that generic, we don't they don't stay, because we are being very, very, very vague about the whole thing. So that's something that we can definitely do. Next slide, please. So yeah, reflect daily on what triggered the behavior. So like I said, you resolve to sleep well, but just before you wanted to hit the bed, you noticed this reel. It was really interesting. It piqued your interest. So you identified the cue behind why this habit or this resolution is not being kept. What is the routine I need to change? I need to stop having my phone near me. What if I invest in an old fashioned alarm clock that you have to set manually that rings? I will definitely wake up in the morning. One habit that I had done is I set my alarm very loudly, but I had to wake up and get out of bed to switch it off. It was near me but still far away. I couldn't extend my hand and switch it off. So what that did is, once you're out of bed, you can switch it off. It's easier for me to just hit the bathroom and, complete whatever I need to do. And I've realized, once you finish brushing and bathing, you feel like you a Herculean task seems to have been accomplished. Then you feel all set to start your day. So use this journal to identify, what is it that is triggering the behavior? What is the consistency that is maintaining it in terms of my routine? When I get the reward of extra sleep or 2 hours of, what am I actually feeling? Yes, I feel good in the moment, but next day I wake up feeling drowsy and I'm feeling guilty, or I'm being very hard on myself, like you have no willpower, the negative self talk. Is that reward really worth it? When you put these thoughts into words, journaling actually helps you break that habit, because it gives you insight into what truly matters. And then just give yourself time to, what can I do weekly to refine these triggers, these routines, and these rewards. Every week is going to be different. Recently there was a wedding in my family. Obviously everything I do went for a talks, because Indian weddings are very interesting in themselves, not the best time to make and expect yourself to follow resolutions. So give yourself even permission for those breaks, that I know this is the time I'm going on a trip. There will be times when I will not be able to keep my resolution of not eating out at all, but I can always come back to my old routine once I'm back from this. Give your give yourself room for, shades of gray, instead of just thinking in black and white. Either I keep resolutions, or I have completely failed them. um any doubts up to this point? Anything that you want to know? So before we move on to the Q&A, I want to do a short visualization exercise with everybody. Can we move to the next slide, please? It's something that will barely take 2 to 3 minutes. So I want all of you to just sit very, very comfortably and just close your eyes and imagine yourself making a resolution, adding ingredients of determination, will, power, fun. Okay, adding these ingredients to that resolution. Notice how you feel in your body when you realize that this behavior I've chosen to engage in from the coming year, it's easy for me to do. I have full intention of doing it. It's not a chore for me. It's fun to do. I'm really looking forward to it. Notice how you feel in your body as you give yourself the lightness of expectations, the fullness of determination, and tap into the excitement that you feel as you move towards the goal you've chosen for yourself. Notice yourself accomplishing that goal, whether it was your intention to eat better, sleep better, achieve more, tick mark a particular milestone in your life. Whatever the goal was, see yourself achieving it. See all the past versions of you congratulating this version of you for having accomplished all that they set their hearts towards. The heart and the mind synced and made this goal possible. What is that feeling you feel inside? Is it joy, contentment, happiness, or something else? Just tap into that positive feeling. Just feel it in your heart. Give it a color, texture, shape, or size. Anything that you want. Place both your hands on your heart and feel it completely filled with this positive feeling. And allow this feeling to magnify, pouring out of your heart and flowing through all the parts of your body, reaching to the top of your head, to the tip of your toes, to your fingertips. There's so much of this positive feeling that it completely floods your body, expanding into the room you're sitting in, filling this entire room that you're in with this positive feeling, expanding even further into all the rooms of your house, into all the houses in your neighborhood. Just feel this feeling magnify and intensify even more. All the houses of the neighborhood, see it flood to the entire city, town that you live in, into all the spaces of that entire city, entire town that you are a part of, filling up all the cities and towns and villages in your country. All of them filled with this positive feeling emitted from your heart. Magnify it even further, even further. Let it fill not just our entire country, but all the countries in the world, as if the entire planet Earth is just radiating from this positive feeling that's within you and around you and outside you. And from the entire planet Earth, feel this feeling coming back to you in your heart. Whenever this process feels complete, gently rub your palms together. Place them before your eyes and gently open your eyes into this reality. Just notice how you're feeling. Journal about this. This is the feeling you're chasing. This is the feeling you're after. Once you open your eyes, just notice how differently you feel on the inside. If anyone would like to share what came up for them right now or how they felt up after this exercise, you're free to do that. But make sure you have your pens and papers ready after you leave our webinar today and journal about this feeling that you felt, because this is the feeling that you're actually chasing. And It's that easy to experience it. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, any questions you have for me or anything you want to ask? Instant gratification. Okay, that was urgent.
Uh, I have a question, Doc.
Yeah.
So, what's the best way to restart a habit, after falling track? Because I'm sure many of us would start off with some joy in January, but then after Feb comes, then in March, then we start losing track. So, what's the best way to restart it again?
So, one of the things that I absolutely love doing at the start of the year, and this is an ideal time to do it, is actually creating a vision board. Okay, which where I, again, not the vision board which is like Pinterest, you just stick random pictures together. I tell people, based on what we were talking today, stick pictures of the behaviors you want to emulate, whether it is taking the stairs, whether it is hitting the gym, whether it is pictures of nutritious food that you want to eat. Put pictures of those things there. And again, the visualization exercise I did, I would say go back to doing it every day. Okay. At how, and literally ask yourself, how would I feel if I achieved this? And magnify that feeling till it, I mean, I did this exercise while I was taking all of you through it. And I could really feel that sense of power, sense of control. And now when I think of, okay, instead of this, I should just switch on the TV, it doesn't give me that kick or that high it gives me before. So if you know what is your goal and how badly you want it, okay, you will always be able to go back and remember what I said, that it's okay to fail. Don't have a goal that is, I will never do this or I will always do this, because when never becomes one, it means like I have failed. So I'll give you an example. I used to be a major coffee drinker at one point of time in my life. I could go through one night with 2 pots of black coffee. Okay. And that's what I needed to keep myself sane and work through. During the daytime, there were endless cups. Okay. And I just wanted to know what would happen if I stopped. Okay. So I went a little extreme where from next day I decided no coffee at all. Okay. And I was able to do it for around 11-12 days. And then I had to go to a meeting, an office meeting sort of a thing, where they offered me tea or coffee. And it was a situation where it was expected of you to have something, because it's also etiquette. So I just said coffee, and I had that cup of coffee. And next day again, that was the cup I had, but I ended up going almost, I still say, since 2015 I don't drink coffee. It doesn't mean I've had 0 cups of coffee since 2015, but then it's not a habit. It's something I do because I'm out with a friend, or maybe once in 6 months, 7 months. It's that rare. So give yourself that freedom to have flexibility in your life and still do things you enjoy doing. Don't be like, I'll do never do it again. I think that is so. Therefore, there's nothing for you to restart. It's never over. It's just a process. Treat it like that.
Yeah. Any more questions, please write it in the chat box, um, so that Divya can take up last few questions at least. Yeah, I think thank you so much, Divya, for sharing your expertise for such a valuable session. I'm sure our audience has taken away actionable strategies to make their 2025 resolutions stick. To everyone who's joined us today, Thank you for being a part of Wellness Wednesday webinar. If you would like to stay updated on our future wellness sessions and health and wellness insights, don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We'll see you in the next year in next Wellness Wednesday. Until then, take care. Bye bye.